So today, hopefully, we get to do the Ice Explorer Tour and get on Franz Josef Glacier.
This morning we are waking up at the beautiful rainforest retreat, which is the holiday park, a hostel, a motel. It's basically everything here. And guess what? The weather is stunning, so we actually can get ourselves onto the Franz Josef Glacier. Needless to say that Laura and I are super excited.
As we get to the Franz Josef Glacier Guide base, Robin is wasting no time putting on his beanie, and we are getting a bit of a briefing on what sort of gear we're going to be using when we get up onto the glacier.
They are providing us with everything we need for this tour. We're getting overpants, jackets, crampons, socks, mittens, fanny pack, boots. And you know what? We're getting also a free beanie, which is pretty awesome. So I'm wearing it. Everybody's mocking me right now, but you know what? When they're gonna get cold all the way on top of the glaciers, I'm gonna be the one having the last laugh. We also take the time to spread a really thick layer of sunscreen on ourselves, because up there in the glacier it's going to be super sunny and the light is going to be reflecting on the ice, and it's going to be even sunnier, and it's an easy way to get a sunburn. So with that in mind, we are making our way toward our helicopter. We are meeting there one of the pilots, which is going to give us a few safety instructions on how to approach the helicopter safely, and after a few pictures it's time for us to board. It's pretty amazing, and Laura is so stoked. I've never seen her that happy, because that's the first time ever she's boarding a helicopter.
I am super stoked to be getting in a helicopter, and we're all distributed on the helicopter according to our weights. So Robin the fatty needs to get in the back while I have prime views at the front, and the views are absolutely sensational. We are flying over rainforest, along a braided river, and going towards the glacier where we can see the terminal face of the Franz Josef Glacier just up ahead.
If you guys notice, the river below us is not really crystal clear blue like it is usually in New Zealand. It's because it's full of what is called rock flour coming from the glacier, grinding itself on both sides of the mountain and creating this powder that deposits in the water. Our pilot is showing amazing skill on landing us safely onto the glacier. Landing the helicopter is actually the hardest part of piloting a helicopter itself, so picture yourself trying to do that on an icy mass like this massive glacier. It's crazy!
Once we get off the helicopter, we are meeting our guide for today, who is called Michael, and he's getting us to kneel down to watch the helicopter fly away, and then we can finally hear him for him to give us some instructions on how to put our crampons on, which is actually pretty difficult. But it doesn't really help when we have a big distraction behind us, which is a Kia parrot. This is the world's only alpine parrot, and you can only see it in New Zealand.
And this is under the watchful and yet cheeky eye of the Kia that we are attempting to put our crampons on. It is not an easy feat, and we finally get there so we can get on our way and start exploring this amazing ice giant. The awesome things about doing a tour on a glacier is that it constantly changes. It's really great for the guides because they never have to do the same. In fact, the glacier is moving as fast as half a meter per day, which means that they constantly have to carve a new path for us to go and explore it. So Michael is taking the lead in front of us with an ice pick and a shovel, and making sure that we have half decent steps so we can make our way up and down all the crevasses and nooks and cracks of the glacier that he wants us to explore.
Michael is giving us plenty of time to grab as many photos as possible, because let's be honest, it's not every day that you get to be stood on a glacier and climbing your way through the different cracks and going through ice caves. I'm pretty sure that he's giving us lots of time to take pictures because he wants a break from carving his way through a glacier rather than just wanting to see some cool pictures. So one of the things that Michael is telling us about is the size of the crevasses below. So we can see these deep, dark cracks in the glacier which can be as big as holding a full building, as deep as 60 meters under the glacier. In fact, in other glaciers in New Zealand, there have been plains that have been thought to be long lost for decades that have been rediscovered in these crevasses of the glaciers.
Needless to say that after hearing all those stories, I am really following Michael close by. When he says walk here, I'm walking here and not anywhere else. I feel like if I were to stray off the path, I would be completely lost in one of those crevasses and never be found. But although I'm following Michael really close by, it really feels like I'm alone on the glacier. It's just me and the group. I feel like I should be hearing the noise of the many helicopter moving around and of the many other groups on the glacier as well. But because every single one of those thick ice wall can be as thick as 50 meters wide, there is absolutely no way for me to hear any other noise. So it just feels like a deep silence. I really love the feeling about that. And we're surrounded with so much ice as well. It just cools you down on a very hot day. While walking around the glacier, I'm asking Michael heaps of questions about this place that intrigues me so much. And one of the things I really want to know is why all the ice looking so dirty. I felt like it should be looking pure blue or perfect white. But in fact, it's not dirt at all. It's just rock left from the glacier carving both sides of the mountain where it's nestled. But there is still heaps of lovely blue cave to be explored, and it's a perfect picture opportunity. By the way, did you know that those ice caves are so blue because blue color is the only color that glacial ice can't absorb?
Another thing we noticed about walking on the Franz Josef Glacier is that it's really difficult to understand the scale of things. In the distance, there is an ice wall which is meant to be the size of a 3-story building, but it just doesn't look that way. It's just really confusing. And that's because there's nothing really around us to compare the sizes to. Usually when you're in a city, you have buildings, or in the forest you have trees, so you understand the size of things, but here it's just pure icy whiteness.
So it's a really awesome walk all around the glacier, and it feels like a stroll along with a bunch of friends because everybody is helping each other. It's a lot of fun. We're helping each other passing crevasses, sliding in ice caves, taking pictures of each other. The whole group is having a blast, and I really love that. It's not often that I get such a fun group for a tour. It's only when we reach kind of the top of the glacier that we start turning back, but we also get to actually embrace the massive scale of the glacier. From there, even the mountain looks smaller. But did you know that glaciers are so big that there is a minimum size requirement to be a glacier? In fact, if you are less than 1 square kilometer big, you are not a glacier, you're just a massive pile of snow. This place is so foreign to me. It is just so new, and I can't picture the fact that the world once used to be almost completely covered by ice. So basically planet Earth back in the days, 100 million years ago, used to just look like that. How impressive! And even more impressive is the fact that most scientific studies agree that almost 70% of the freshwater reserve in the world are contained in glaciers, and that if they were all melting right now, it would be a rise of water levels of over 80 meters. How crazy is that?
Not as crazy as your freaking beanie, Robin. It's time to take it off. It is way too hot now to be wearing the beanie. At this section of the Franz Josef Glacier, Michael is telling us more about the movements of the glacier, which is apparent in the jagged and sharp icy parts that we can see around us. And basically, the glacier is like a slow-moving river. And it's here that Michael also tells us about the ever-changing environment here, and for instance, that by 2100, Franz Josef Glacier could have lost 38% of its mass, meaning it could shrink by 38%. That's just incredible to think of.
And it is with this last humbling fact that Michael is leaving us at the end of this tour. I just can't believe that because of human-caused global warming, we are losing so many jewels like this one from all around the world. I'm definitely leaving this tour with eyes wide open about global warming and environment protection. And this is a great subject to discuss with our fellow tourmates, as 2 of them are actually botanists working on some reforestation project back in their home country. So after all, there is some hope left. As the loop finishes, we are joining the rest of the groups that have been exploring the Franz Josef Glacier, and we are hopping back onto our helicopter for the last thrill ride of the day, back to the base. Our pilot is definitely much more reckless than the first one that we had. He's telling us that he loves working on the glacier because he gets to fly helicopter all the time, unlike most of other places in New Zealand when he used to fly fixed-wing aircraft which are much less maneuverable and have no chance to land on such a rugged glacier. And a thrill ride it will be.
And it seems that we have now boarded onto some sort of roller coaster ride as we're making our way back down from the glacier, doing some super sharp turns all the way down back to the base. Back on land, we are still buzzing from the experience we just had. I can't believe that we've just been walking in and under and around a giant glacier. This is an opportunity that we rarely get to have, so we are super stoked. I don't know if it can get any better than today, but maybe it might just get better tomorrow. We'll see. But we are doing some skydiving over the top of Franz Josef Glacier. We are going to be doing the highest skydive in New Zealand. How epic is that? I'll tell you how. Really epic. Fantastically epic. I can't wait. I want to go skydiving. We're going to go skydiving. Bah! Right. See you tomorrow.